Today I'm going to show you how to use the same tips and techniques that help me get the best stitches out of my machine to help you keep yours in tip-top shape too. These techniques can also help you troubleshoot and solve issues such as funky loops of thread on the front or back of your fabric, skipped or irregular stitches with uneven tension, clumps of knotted thread or frayed fabric, thread fraying or breaking, or your fabric not moving through your machine properly. Pretty amazing, right? Let's take a step-by-step look at how I care for my top-loading bobbin sewing machine. If you have a front-loading bobbin, which means the compartment might be over here, or side-loading over here, then your machine maintenance might look a little bit different. The parts will be just a little bit different, but the benefits will be the same. So we're going to start by turning off the machine so nobody gets electrocuted. We're turning off the power to the machine. I'm also going to unthread it. And whenever you unthread your machine, it's really good if you can train yourself to always cut the thread up by the spool and pull it out down by the needle. And that way, if there's any lint or anything, it comes out with the thread instead of getting yanked up into your tension discs. So that's real important. So one of the first things that you can do when you're sewing and you're having troubles is unthread and rethread several times in a row. And if there's anything along that thread path, as long as you pull the thread out down by the needle, you can help jostle it out. The next thing we're going to do is take that needle out of the way. So I'm actually going to put an envelope here, just something, just in case I don't grab that just right. I don't want it to fall down into the feed dog area. Ask me how I know that can happen. So I'm going to loosen that screw and then pull out the needle. There it is. I have a little cup I'm going to put it into for now, just so that it doesn't poke anybody. Now I can move this. And now I'm going to take out the screws, and I'm going to do that while everything is still covered so that I don't accidentally have a screw fall in. And once you get it started, you can just do it with your finger. And as I pull those up, I'm going to drop those into the cup as well. Let me get this one started. Get that out. So there's the second screw into the little cup. Now I'm going to take this off. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to raise my presser foot and take the foot off. Raising the presser foot also opens up those tension discs. And I'm going to take the foot off and put it in the cup. Now that we have the screws out, we can lift these out of the way. I do suggest, if you've never cleaned this out before, take a photo before you take anything out so that you know how it all goes back together again. I am going to pull the bobbin out now, and it goes into the little cup. And then here comes the bobbin case. And I'm going to give that a good brush off, kind of clean that off while I'm at it. Just give it a good in, out, and around. Make sure that's clean. Now, I normally clean my machine out every 2 or 3 bobbins. I waited a little bit longer this time because I wanted to give you a nice show so you could see all the stuff coming out. This is just a Q-tip. I'm using that because it helps get some of the stuff out. If you do use a Q-tip, make sure that you don't force it. You don't want to leave stuff from the Q-tip. You just want to pull it up. And that kind of static electricity, I think, will help the dust and stuff to cling to it. So you just want to clean around. And I have, oh, there's a great big clump. I have an assortment of brushes. I like this one for going through here around the feed dogs, making sure that's nice and clean. And some of that out and around. You raise that again. I also have these brushes from Bucklebee. I like these. They're very similar to like a mascara brush, except they're soft and bendy. It's silicone and they're washable. So I like the fact that I can keep using them over and over again. And they do a good job at bringing out lots of stuff. And they're very bendy. They can get into places without me having to force anything. Let me get these out of the way. I can feel like I'm getting right in there. And you can see all the stuff that's coming out. This other one is shaped just a little bit differently, but it works very similarly. Just kind of get it all in and around. And if you have a longer bristled brush like this one, you could also go up in here a little bit, up and around. Actually, I probably should have started there because now I'm going to have to clean this part out again. Just kind of get all of that stuff out of there so it's nice and clean. And it really helps your stitch quality. Just get it out there. All right, and when you're ready to put it back together, the first thing that goes back in is the bobbin case. And there's a little white mark that lines up with the white mark there. Kind of on a weird angle so that to allow from the camera. So I got to see if I can pop that in. There we go. All right, you can see right there. And then we're going to put these on. Now, I'm not going to get my screws out just yet because I don't want to risk them falling into this part. So I'm going to go ahead and get this part on. And there's parts that kind of click into place. So that kind of clicks into place there. And then it all slides together like that. And I'm going to get that nice and covered before I get my screws out, because I have dropped a screw down there and it was miserable to try to get it back out again. So I'll put those screws there. Now, this is not a substitute for taking your machine in for service once a year or so, especially if you have a computerized machine. It's a real good idea to take it in and let them do a super clean. And you also notice I did not use any oil or lubricant while I was down in there. Depending on your machine, especially if you have an older machine, you might need to put a drop of oil, sewing machine oil, not regular oil, sewing machine oil or sewing machine lubricant in specific spots. For my particular machine, it's not recommended the dealer do that if they need to on a super tune situation. But on a regular basis, it's not necessary. So I never do it. But always read your manual. Don't just go by my machine. Always check your manual to see what your specific machine needs. Now we're ready to put the needle back in. And I do recommend changing your needle at the same time that you do everything else. Some signs that your needle is too dull is if you notice a popping sound when you're stitching. What is often happening is that your needle has gotten too dull, and instead of just sliding down into the fabric, it's actually hitting the fabric and then punching through it, which makes an irregular hole, which can cause your thread to fray or break more easily because of that friction on it. Now, when you put the needle in, the flat goes to the back. So we've got to get the flat to the back, and we'll slide that in. And then tighten up. I'm trying to get my hand out of your way. Tighten that up and also use the screwdriver to tighten that up. So you might notice thread breaking. You might notice a popping sound. You might notice skipped stitches. You might notice a wisp of batting coming out the front or the back. Those are all signs that your needle has gotten too dull. And if you're having irregular stitches or irregular tension, or big loops or knots, those are often signs that you've got too much junk lint buildup down there underneath and around the feed dogs and the bobbin area. So, learning how to take care of those yourself and doing it on a regular basis can save you a lot of frustration, can save you a lot of time and money, and not having to take it in for service. Last thing we're going to do is open this up and pop our bobbin back in. And on my machine, there's a little diagram that shows how the thread is meant to go. So, oops, if I don't lose it. So it pops right in like that. And then I like to hold that down, make sure it's fully seated, and then cuts it there and put that in. And then you should always do at least one revolution. I like to do a couple, just like this, to make sure that your needle is not hitting the bobbin case, that everything is hunky-dory, and that it looks good. So that's with the foot up. Now we're going to do it with the foot down. And we're golden. I'm ready to rethread the machine and get back to sewing. Get in a good habit of taking care of your machine. And if you try all these tricks and it's not working, or if something more serious is going on, definitely take it in to a dealer that knows what they're doing and they can fix you up. If you have a computerized machine, it's still a good idea to let them do a super tune once a year. But doing this regularly, I do it every 2 to 3 bobbins. If you're sewing every day, you might want to do it once a week. If you're sewing just a few times a week, you might want to do it once a month. But do it on a regular schedule, and your machine will thank you, and it will also last a lot longer. I hope this was helpful to you. If it was, I hope you'll consider giving it a thumbs up and subscribing to this channel for more fun quilty information, tips, tutorials, reviews, and upcoming projects. Thanks so much for joining me today.